My parents played tennis in Melbourne at the East Kew Tennis Club, and I was taken to tennis in my pram. What did you do on a Saturday afternoon to play tennis? My aunt found a racket in her wardrobe, and she said, "Oh, you might as well use it." I haven't used it for years. Well, it was a big wooden racket with red strings, and it was so big I couldn't get my hand around it. My father had to, shave off the wooden handle so I could get my hand around it. So that was my first racket. But I was very proud of that racket. I had one. That was a big thing if you had a racket. Most of the time they were either you played at school, because you weren't really invited into tennis clubs as a junior. There wasn't much in the way of juniors. When I was at school in Melbourne, every Sunday afternoon I was the only junior girl in the club at Hawthorn Tennis Club. And then another boy came along who was just a little bit younger than I was, but he had an older brother in the club. And every Sunday afternoon, David and I had to play the two oldest men in the club. Until one day, poor old Harry got to this stage, of serving. And they decided that Harry might have a heart attack on the court. We better not have that with the kids there. So that was the end of that. Oh, it was all white. White shoes, socks, everything was white. No tracksuits. They weren't invented then. Rackets, well, they were wooden rackets, Slazenger rackets. And then the aluminium came in. And then there were the metal ones. And then, of course, the rackets became longer and wider. So, yes. And also the stringing was different, sort of the gut strings that you played. I know when we played in Geelong, we lived in Geelong for a while, and as soon as there was any rain in there, well, up, your racket went up your jumper. I used to think that the Jarman brothers who had the sports store used to think, oh, good, another wet Saturday, they'll all be bringing their rackets in to get restrung. There were no double-handed backhands. No, that was frowned upon. But then as there were more coaches around, of course, people started to play more orthodox tennis. And then topspin came in with the Americans, Jack Kramer and, all those men that came out. And then there was the Australians were Frank Sedgman and Rosewell and Hode. And they came out with this topspin, which the boys caught on quicker than the girls, I felt. Well, instead of hitting a flat forehand, you come up and hit over the top of it, sort of thing. And it bounces high, but it doesn't. You can hit it harder, and it doesn't. It keeps it in on the baseline. There wasn't any money in like Melbourne Pennant or any of those things, or churches or anything like that. So, or even in veterans, there was no money. You didn't win money. You won medals. Always medals. They're rather heavy too, some of them. Professional sport is always different to amateur. We were always told never to accept money. If you won a race or something like that, or football. No, my son down in Geelong, you didn't, if you want to play school sport, you didn't accept money. And often if you played on a Saturday, there would always be an older man who would say, well done, son, and pass over a note of some sort. And you had to say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't take it, because you wouldn't be able to play school sport, which was a bit difficult for them. I've always admired Steffi Graf because of she's businesslike, she gets on with the job. She always looks as though she's there to really win there. And Yvonne Goolagong, because she was the most graceful tennis player. Margaret Court, she was another very business-like person. It was hard when she was coming in because she was the first, really. And I know at one stage she had to go overseas with a chaperone all the time. And she didn't want to go, you know, and of course they said, oh, no, you've got to have somebody with you, you know. It has changed a bit. Well, I've been playing since year 7 at school. Form 1 it used to be called. I just play, you know, as the other girls, and on a Thursday during the day or on Sunday morning. We're called chapel girls on Sunday morning because we should be at chapel instead of playing tennis. You enjoy it. You play, it's a sport. It's something you do in the weekends. You look forward to it and you like running around. You like being outside and you like belting the ball. You like hitting it. If you really hit a good shot, you think, oh, that felt good. Especially if you hit it in the middle.